In this Zoho CRM beginners tutorial, I'll show you how to use Zoho CRM like a pro so you can get the most out of it. Now, I'm Drew Brockbank, founder of Brockbank Consulting, an elite Zoho partner, and I've set up Zoho for over 141 organizations. This is how you should be using Zoho CRM. And as a bonus, I'm going to show you how I'm using other applications in tandem with Zoho CRM so you can see how I get the most out of the Zoho platform. Now, the best way to show you how to use Zoho CRM is to show you how I'm using it, and then for you to translate how I'm using it to your own efforts. So with that, let's just go to my YouTube channel. I'm going to take you through the whole customer journey. You're going to see there's this need Zoho help, book a free consultation, and this takes visitor to my website. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is I'm taking you through a whole road to revenue, and Zoho CRM should reflect the road to revenue for a customer and their customer journey. If you're a business, it's your customer journey. If you're a nonprofit, you're not dealing with customers, then it would just be the journey you're taking someone through or something through. Now, when someone goes to my website, a couple things are happening here. I told you that I would mention different Zoho apps that are at play. Zoho Sales IQ is tracking me as a visitor. So now I'm getting visitor tracking. I can see how many visitors have come through month to month. Just a sneak peek into that. Here's the dashboard that I have that shows, hey, this is the road to revenue on a month-to-month basis. So you can see month to month here. Here's the YouTube views that I have. Here's website visits. This is a demo dashboard, but it gives you an idea, right? Here's marketing leads over a month. Here's sales ready leads month to month. I want to show every single part of the customer journey for month to month so I can analyze what's going on. Okay. So that's what's happening here on the website. Someone goes to a YouTube video. I track that inside of Zoho Analytics and I bring that into Zoho CRM via web tab. So separate from Zoho CRM, but it ties in. And then once someone goes from a YouTube video, watches the YouTube video, hopefully they'll click on book free consultation here. They'll get onto the website and Sales IQ will track everything here, where someone goes on the page. Through Zoho Page Sense, I can see what parts of the pages they visited. I can get a whole recording of their session, and then they'll go to book free consultation. Now, this is where we get to the conversion, right? And this information is extremely important to track. You'll notice when I initially clicked on this, by the way, and you may be thinking to yourself, Drew, this doesn't translate at all to what I'm doing. I still think it's important because this gets into the discussion of attribution. And so whether you're doing traditional marketing, which I'm doing, if you don't know traditional marketing, that's, hey, I'm going to put out a lot of marketing like ads or content. People are going to click and visit the website. Or if you're doing account-based marketing, which is you just have a list of 100 accounts that you want to work with, and then you start generating contacts underneath those accounts and you start to reach out to them. Or maybe you're B2C. Doesn't matter. These things are going to be useful for you to understand. Okay. And you can translate it to your own efforts. So you can see these UTM parameters. So where we're at in the customer journey, they watched a piece of content, which is a YouTube video, and they clicked on the link. Now they're on my website. I want to know, once I get the sale, exactly where the sale came from. So you can see there's data here: YouTube, organic, general, none. And then you can see the exact piece of content that led to a visit, a conversion, a lead, a deal, and a sale. Okay. So you want all that information. Why? Because what I want to do is in this dashboard, I want to be able to say, hey, how much revenue was generated through this effort in marketing? Okay. We're doing all these marketing things. We're doing SEO, we're doing PPC, we're doing content through YouTube, TikTok, all these different things. What's actually generating revenue? So I can double down on that and stop focusing on the things that don't do anything for me. Okay. So that is the goal here. Now, this can work. What I'm showing you here, these parameters, this can work for events. This can work for anything. And if you're not doing marketing and you're just trying to get more business with existing clients, this won't be as applicable to you, which is okay. The rest of it will be applicable to you, I promise. So book free consultation. I have a conversion form here where someone can just book time with me. I use Calendly instead of Zoho Bookings. The reason I do that is I need to be able to pass those UTM parameters that I showed you, right? These ones. I need to pass those UTM parameters into the CRM, and I can't do that with Bookings currently. If they change that, great. I'd be happy to move over. Until that, I have a custom requirement, and because I have a very specific niche requirement, it demands that I use a specific software like Calendly that can support it, okay? So I try to stay with the Zoho apps as much as I can, but when I have a custom requirement that can't be supported by a Zoho application, it's forcing my hand to go over to do something else. And then I just integrate. So I use Zoho Flow, by the way. So as someone fills this out, it's able to pass all the information from the URL to the form to Zoho CRM. Also, just a side note, I use attributor.io in order to automatically capture the UTM parameters too. Okay, so I can manually put in UTM parameters if I want, but attributor.io will do it for me. If that sounds like gibberish to you, do not worry about it. Now, once this form is filled out, someone fills it out and books a time with me. Zoho Flow, which is like Zapier for Zoho. If you don't know about Zapier, it's a workflow builder that essentially allows you to say, when someone fills out a form, then create a lead in a different system. Allows you to integrate apps and create automations inside of apps. Once someone fills out the form, they enter the leads module inside of Zoho CRM. If you don't know what a module is, it's just a different record type. So we have each record means a different thing. So a record type is a digital representation of a thing in real life. People call them objects, record types, modules, different sections. There's lots of different names for the same thing. But a lead represents an unqualified opportunity to do business with someone. Or in other words, I don't want to give anyone with a heartbeat and Wi-Fi connection the ability to enter my deals pipeline, because deals, contacts, and accounts are clean. They're supposed to be very clean. Leads is a chaotic mess because I can't control who fills out the form, right? Someone can just search on Google, Drew Brockbank Consulting, and then fill it out, and they might be looking for a service completely unrelated. I have no idea. So leads is showing the customer journey up until qualification. Now, there are two major cases I can think of at the top of my head why you wouldn't want to use leads. Number one, if every time an opportunity comes in the door, it's qualified. So let's say you have 5 main customers and you sell furniture, and every time they ask you for a quote, they're already qualified. Then you don't need to use the leads module because this is unqualified opportunity. So if they're qualified, it's deals, and leads and deals effectively represent your entire customer journey. Let me just say that again. Leads and deals effectively represent your entire customer journey. You can see I have stages here to represent different sections of the customer journey. I'm going to take another step back here. You have 2 parts of processes. You have stages right here, and then steps. Okay, so stages are general phases of the process, which are these Kanban columns you're seeing. And then I have steps, which are the specific things I need to do in order to move someone along the journey. And there's different ways to document that. We'll talk about that. So first, you have leads for unqualified opportunities. We're going through one road of revenue here for me, and I'm trying to give you some insight as to how this would apply to you if you're not my business, because you're not my business. And you only want to use the modules that are applicable to you, because there's a million things you can do in Zoho, none of which are worth setting up and doing unless it supports your customer journey and internal processes and objectives. If it doesn't support those things, then why do it? There's no reason to do it unless it supports objectives, internal processes, and customer journey. So that's one of the things I'm trying to get across here. The other reason you wouldn't want to use the leads module, by the way, is let's say that you have a really long form on your website, and if they fill it out like 95% of the time, they are qualified. Then you're not going to want to use it. Also, if you're doing account-based marketing, it's another case that came to my mind. If you're doing account-based marketing, that means that you are not doing what we're talking about right now. What I do is traditional marketing. In traditional marketing, you can kind of think of it like a funnel, a traditional funnel, where I create a video, it gets, let's say, 10,000 views, and 100 of those views go to the website. 100 of those YouTube viewers go to the website, now they're visitors, and 100 others, and 10 of those visitors fill out the form, and one of those people who fills out the form goes from lead to deal to closed won. Hey, that's traditional. That's the funnel, right? You can actually see my funnel right here inside of the dashboard. Okay, so this is traditional marketing, if you will. This is what most people think of when they think of marketing. Then you have, on the other hand, account-based marketing, and it's flipped. So now you take that filter and you put it upside down, and you start with, let's say, 50 accounts that you want to do business with. And you say, okay, these 50 accounts we want to do business with. And then you generate 150 contacts for those 50 accounts. And then once you start to establish rapport and a relationship with those accounts, then a deal comes about, then an opportunity comes about after you have multiple touch points with multiple different people. Think about it this way. If you were a company that sells machines and the machines you sell are only applicable to 100, the Fortune 100, then you'd have the Fortune 100 in your accounts. And then you would build up contact lists for each of those accounts. Then you'd reach out to those contact lists and say, hey, we sell these machines. And then if they're like, you know what, we like you, we've been talking to you for a year, now we'll do an opportunity. You'd go from accounts, contacts to a deal module. Okay. I know that sounds crazy and I'm going really fast here, but I just want to help you understand leads is applicable in a lot of cases, but in some situations, I'm like, it doesn't make sense to use leads. Okay. And if you're doing account-based marketing, accounts essentially becomes your leads module. You can see here, I've got target accounts, working accounts, cold selling. This is a good setup if you're doing account-based marketing. And then after you work an account, you can generate a deal, which would go into deals opportunities, same thing there. Okay, so this is the lead section. Now I'm bringing you back from a bunch of side notes into the customer journey. So I watched a video, I clicked on the link, I filled out the form, and I entered as a sales ready lead. Now, why do I enter as a sales ready lead when I fill out this form? Well, the reason why is it's showing sales intent. So I want you to really think about this because this is important. If I go over to resources and then I go over to read more, if I fill out join our newsletter, am I sales ready? No. Why? Because join our newsletter is not saying I want someone to give me a sales call. That'd be weird. Could you imagine filling out join our newsletter, you put in your email and someone emails you and says, hey, book a call here. You'd be like, I just want the newsletter. I'm not sales ready. I'm marketing ready. So that's why I have this marketing ready section right here. So you'll notice that this progresses from left to right. And that's how your system should look. And this is how you should be setting up and using your system. So Patrick Higgins, for example, if he filled out the form on the website here, join our newsletter, he would first be in this section. Let's jump over here. This is the Zoho One interface. Patrick Higgins would first be in lead marketing ready. But if Patrick later went into the CRM and hit book free consultation and then filled out this form, Patrick would then become, right here, automatically should move over to MQL sales ready. And that would reflect that if he's filled out a book a free consultation form, he's showing sales intent, therefore he's sales ready. Another word for that is marketing qualified lead. Okay, so I just put MQL and then sales ready just to give you an idea. By the way, a sales qualified lead would be an opportunity. That's what I consider an opportunity. There's so many different ways of saying these things, but hopefully you can translate that to your own efforts. You're also going to see raw lead here. This one isn't super popular, but I'm just going to give you the reason for why I have it. Raw lead just means that we have their information, but they didn't give it to us and consent to marketing. Okay, so for example, there's a software called RB2B. RB2B analyzes the traffic that goes to your website, and then it matches the IP address with its internal database of emails, phone numbers, first name, last name, things like that, LinkedIn profile. And so if it finds a match between an IP address on your website and its internal database of contacts, then it will send you the information. So I've gotten a lot of leads from that. And then you can send them an email, say, do you consent to marketing? And if they say yes, then you can market to them, or you can do things like that. Okay, so that's a raw lead. If you buy a list from somebody, it would technically be a raw lead until you validate their email address, get consent from them, something like that. Okay, so that's raw lead. Maybe it's applicable, maybe it's not. A lot of people it's not applicable to, but I just added there just to give you my case. I want you to see the whole customer journey from left to right. Okay. Next thing, we talked about lead marketing ready. That just means fill out, subscribe to our newsletter, just something where you want to keep in touch with them, but they aren't necessarily ready for sales. By the way, you can set up lead scoring here. So you see -30. These are lead scores. If you want to take this to the next level, you can set up rules so that as you're marketing to someone, as they click on emails, you can score different information. So if they have the right title in their record, then you move them up in lead score. And then if they hit 100 points, you can automatically have them move over to sales ready, just so that you know you can do that automatically with scoring. Okay, that's another smart thing to do. I don't do that, but you can do that if you want to. Okay, then someone's sales ready. You have your sales ready column. This means, hey, they've shown intent to engage with the sales team. Maybe they filled out a free consultation form. Maybe they downloaded an asset on your website that you deem as sales ready. Maybe you just have a list of 50 people who attended a conference that you want to reach out to and you want to put them in sales ready. Doesn't matter. If they're ready for you to do some kind of sales dedicated action, it's sales ready in this column. So Patrick Higgins, for example, Patrick watched a video, he clicked on a link, he went over to the website, he filled out the free consultation form, he's in the sales ready column. The nice thing is I've also captured in the tracking section, this is all custom, I built this out, but you should be doing this as well if you're doing traditional. Even account-based marketing, this can be useful. By the way, just another side note, I'm going to let my side notes run rampant because I want to give you as much value in this video as I can. If it's overwhelming, you can just kind of tune it out. If you are doing account-based marketing, if you have forms on your website, you still may want to use the leads module just as a way to keep track of all the different web form fill-outs, just so you're aware. We have a lot of people who use accounts and deals and contacts for account-based marketing and then leads just to capture those web form submissions that are being filled out. Okay, this tracking section, if they watched a specific video like my Zoho CRM Masterclass, it would say Zoho CRM Masterclass, okay? And then the reason I bring this up is once you're back here and you move this over to sales engaged, sales ready means, hey, they're ready for sales. Sales engaged means, what are you going to do about it? And this is where you'll probably want to use something like cadences. In cadences is essentially your way of just saying, hey, I have a, I'll just show it to you. It's so much easier to show it to you. I love when I try to explain these things and there's like a place in the CRM I can literally just pull up and show it to you. You're going to want a cadence here. Here's a sales outreach cadence as an example. Okay. So follow-up 1, follow-up 2, follow-up 3. This can be an email. This can be a task for you to call. This can be a meeting that you want to set. It can be, an email, task, or call. Okay. So task for something for you to do, which maybe you're going to follow up via LinkedIn. If you're going to follow up via LinkedIn, there's not a LinkedIn connector here. So you just add a task. If you're going to follow up via, I don't know, some other thing than a call and an email, then you're going to use a task. If you want to send an email automatically, the system can do that for you automatically. If you want to do a call, it's not going to call automatically for you, but it will schedule the call so it comes up on your list. Essentially what you're doing here is sales engaged is the answer to the question, once a opportunity is ready, what do you do about it? What do you do in order to follow up? Now, this isn't all the outreach, by the way. If we bring it back here to the sales engaged section, this isn't every single touch point. This is just the communication that you should be giving to a new sales ready opportunity before they either don't answer or before you reach them. When you reach them, that means you've had 1+ conversations. Once you have 1+ conversations, you can't automate every single email that's going to go out from there. So sales engaged is saying, hey, after 4 touch points, we have to give up. We can't spend all day on this opportunity. We have other opportunities we want to work through. You can also just say, hey, for 2 weeks, we're going to hit it hard, do 8 interactions, and then we're going to schedule this to come back into the sales ready list a year later. Okay. And then we're going to follow up with this opportunity a year from now. You can do things like that. But sales engaged is everything before you reach them. This may be applicable to you, might not be. That's why you're going to have to translate here. Because in my situation, when someone's sales ready, they enter the form, they're sales ready. I don't do any working sales engaged because they already booked on the free consultation. So they actually, they don't even move to sales ready for me. I actually just will mark them reached because I automatically send them an email. And if they respond back to that, they're just reached. Okay. So sales ready, and then working sales engaged. And if they confirm that they're going to have their appointment, I just consider that like 1+ conversations. I move them over to reached. Hopefully that makes sense. Reached just means, hey, they've done some kind of interaction to show you that they are wanting to have a conversation or you've had a conversation. Okay. That's what reached is. By the way, if you're like, what on earth is you're talking about? I have this journey map. You can download it below. You don't even have to put in your details for it. And it just goes over everything at a high level, raw lead, everything we're talking about right here. It talks about too, which is really, really useful. Okay. So there's some differences here. in the way that I'm doing it, but this is a really good roadmap for you to see a road to revenue. When I say road to revenue, I'm saying a series of steps. Now, when you're doing this system, there's so much that can slow you down when you're developing Zoho because it's such a massive system. So what I suggest that you do, just build one road to revenue, one series of steps. Ideally, that would happen for someone to be able to buy something from you, or if you're not a business, for them to get to the end goal. Once you have one established road to revenue, then you can go through all the split offs, all the other things that could potentially happen. But I'm telling you, if you try to do every split scenario that could possibly happen in their customer journey, you're never going to establish a baseline system that can support revenue getting through the system. You at least want a system that can support giving you revenue in an ideal situation. Not every situation is ideal. I totally get that. But if you don't establish that baseline, your system's pretty much useless. That's what I'm trying to get across, okay? So the baseline, you want to establish these different stages, which are the general phases of the process. Now I'm going to take a quick step back. So you have this documentation journey, which is showing you the definitions for the stages, okay? That is useful. But I would recommend taking it a step further and give yourself step level documentation. In step level documentation, I'm going to show you here, is more like an SOP. And an SOP is basically like step by step, how should you be doing something? So this is my SOP database. Here's an SOP on how to create an SOP, okay? You want this, you can even copy this video and watch it. In step level documentation is Drew will send a video, team member will do this, team member will do this. It's very specific on what you're going to do. I have a whole video on Zoho Learn of exactly how to set this up in the best way possible. So go check that out if you want to learn about step level documentation. I think stage level documentation is required to start with a Zoho CRM system. Step level documentation is more advanced, but I also think it's pretty much required in order to get the most out of the Zoho system. And it's the most sustainable way to train people, the way that I do it. I've seen people do this 1,000 different ways that don't work, but the way that I do it works and it's sustainable, okay? So step level documentation is the steps in the process, and stage level documentation is there as well. If you want to put it all in a master doc too, where it's both stage level documentation steps, great. Just each stage, just have as a, just do one indent for the steps and then stages here. Don't go overcomplicated with your documentation. Don't do it. Especially in my opinion, you shouldn't even do flowcharts. Flowcharts can be helpful, but they lack the detail required to actually implement a system. That's why I like this SOP format a lot. I've tried every documentation style under the sun that can support an implementation or development plan or setup plan for Zoho. It doesn't work unless you are really detailed, and this allows you to be really detailed. You can put notes here. You can add flowcharts within this document too, if you want to get crazy with it. But yeah, you want an army of SOPs for step level documentation, and then you can just search for the SOP. If you're like, how do I send a proposal? How do I send a quote? How do I generate an invoice? All of that should be an SOP here, okay? All right, so with that, back to the journey here. I know I'm going in a lot of different directions, but I'm trying to show you all the different possibilities here with Zoho. So, and that's Zoho Learn, by the way. That's where I store all my SOPs, and you should too. Reached. So reached just means, hey, you've had a conversation, or they booked with you to have that conversation. It's what you establish is, hey, like, we don't want to send them emails over and over. They've kind of already done the action that we wanted them to do in order for us to have our first discussion. Okay, so the first discussion is, if you're B2C, this isn't going to apply to you. If you're B2C, you can just use contacts. But if you're in B2B like me, and if you do anything similar to what I'm doing, I would say if you have an initial discussion to qualify someone. So qualification, what does that mean? BANT, budget, authority, need, timeline. Can they afford what you offer? Do they have the authority to sign the check? Do they need what you're offering? Does the timing make sense? Does the timeline make sense? If it's a yes to all those things, then they're qualified. BANT is just a popular framework to build off of. You don't have to use that criteria. I'm just giving it to you as an example. So reached essentially says, okay, so I've reached you. Now that we're having a discussion, are you qualified? After the initial discussion with a prospect, they should either enter not qualified. You can put them in rejected junk. This should pretty much be automated if their email is invalid or they're a robot and a bot filled out your form. That'd be what rejected junk is for. So after you have the initial discussion, you should qualify them. If they're not qualified, they go to recycle not qualified. You send them to Zoho Marketing Automation. Zoho Marketing Automation can drip communications on them. By the way, I use Zoho Marketing Automation I'm going to take a step back with Zoho Marketing Automation. I have drip campaigns that go for everybody. So like every week they're receiving a communication about something Zoho related that's valuable. Then I have my newsletter. So I have drip campaign, newsletter. Also, instead of doing it so you can do specific segments or groups of people for specific drip campaigns. I recommend first just establishing a master drip that's generally applicable to everyone, and then move into the nuance of segment or group specific drips or marketing communication. The reason I say that, so many clients that I meet with, they're like, yeah, let's do all the segmentation. Yes, let's do segmentation. But before we do that, is there anything that you can send that's generally applicable to everyone in your list, just so you can begin, just so we can get started? It's low hanging fruit. Totally recommend that for you as well. I do that too. I also have segment specific level communication. So it's like, hey, if they're in this industry as an example, if they're in this industry, then they'll receive this kind of communication. Or if they're a client of ours, they'll receive this communication, whereas a prospect wouldn't. Okay. So you can do segmentation within here as well. Moving on with reach. So let's say Amber Brooks, I meet with them, we have a conversation. Amber's not qualified. I'm going to move Amber over to recycled, not qualified, because they didn't have the budget. Amber and Amber's company didn't have the budget, so not qualified. Let's go back. Let's say I have the discussion. Amber is qualified. Amber does have the budget. I'll click into Amber's record. I'll go to convert, and convert turns a lead into a deal, contact, and account potentially. Why do I say potentially? Well, you can see the account's not showing up. The reason why is in Amber Brooks' record, there's not a company field filled out here. So if I do demo account, and now I go to convert, you can see that new created account for demo account. So the account would be created, new contact would be created, and then I can hit this for a new deal to be created. So account, organization, contact, person, and then deal, qualified opportunity. Seems complicated. You have to have it. Why? Because you can have multiple deals over time with the same person potentially. Okay. Maybe that's applicable to you. Maybe it's not, but it's important to have these three different distinct records. Also, just as a side note, within the deal, you can have quotes. So for me, I'm providing a service. I don't really use the quotes module because I'm not offering lots of different products where I have to keep track of everything like that. So I use items, but I don't use quotes. So, that's something important to know is if you're, let's say we have some clients, they will quote their customers like 100 items in 100 line items with multiple quantities of each item. And they need quotes. Quotes, by the way, within this context of Zoho CRM, people will refer to it as CPQ, configure price quote. It has CPQ functionality, which means you can build a quote and send it out and get it approved. And then you can also turn that quote into a sales order, invoice, shipment, or package shipment, things like that too, using Zoho Inventory and Zoho Books, which we'll talk a little bit about too. Okay, so create a new deal for this account. Let's say I was going to sell them a $10,000 package as an example, and I wanted to close it. Closing date's helpful for forecasting, by the way. So if you want to build forecast reports, you saw my dashboard, you can add pretty much any report you want to that. Zoho CRM does have reporting functionality. I just don't love it in comparison to what you're able to do inside of Zoho Analytics. Zoho Analytics is so much more robust. So if you want simple reports, Zoho CRM. Advanced reporting and dashboards, you got to go with Zoho Analytics. It's just so much better. Okay, so now you can see we have the stages for the post-qualification process. Or in other words, deals is everything after qualification. Leads is everything before qualification. Now, this might be where your system starts depending on how your business/organization does its workflow and supports its customers. Now, you can see here, these are the deal stages. So same stages here: qualification, needs analysis, proposal, negotiation. It all exists right here as well. Needs analysis, proposal. You can see qualifications just collapsed there. Negotiation, close one, close lost. By the way, there are some basic things here. If you want to get Z training for like, to go into these things in more depth, Z training also includes an onboarding checklist. Just came to my mind as I was talking to you, talking through this video. If you want to set up your email, get your calendar set up, basic things like that, get Z training, it'll walk you through it. I just want to go over the things that if I didn't share with you, I'd feel like I'm doing you a disservice, because these are the things that nobody talks about that I'm like, why is this never talked about? So with that, qualification pipeline ready. So where are we at in the process? Someone watched a video, they went to the website, they filled out a form, they booked a free consultation, they entered our system, they received marketing information. And at this point, we had the meeting and they're qualified, they're ready to go. And they say, Drew, we're interested in your package. We would love to receive a proposal. And in this case, I'd move them over to negotiation. And the reason I move them over to negotiation is at this point, I'll send them the proposal, and any response after that is what I would either consider a negotiation. It doesn't have to be a proper sitting across the table and saying, we want to change these terms. Any of the communication after sending the proposal is a negotiation for me. Now, you could make an argument that it should be proposal, but my system doesn't really require the nuance there. It just isn't a big deal for me. For you, the more complicated your sales process is, the more you have to rely on the stages to understand where things are at in the process, and you need more clarity there. For me, I can just move them over to negotiation right after I qualify them and they say, send me a proposal. Now, what if they say, let's set up another meeting? Well, then I would move them over to needs analysis, because now we're moving into another meeting. I need more details on their account before I send them a proposal. They're not ready for a proposal quite yet. Or if they just say, hey, we want to move forward with this, just not right now, then I would mark them not qualified, okay? But if they're qualified and they say, hey, we're going to get back to you, we want to set up that meeting, then they'd be qualified, pipeline ready. So you see how these stages can be used to determine where they're at in the process. You can use my stages, or you can make your own so that it fits your own process. I'm just giving you mine, okay? A lot of the time I get on a discovery call, someone's like, where do I sign? They're not like, hey, let me take a couple days and then book another meeting with other key stakeholders. That's usually not what happens in my sales process, but it depends on your sales process. When I meet with a client, I want all the details of their process so that I can tell them exactly what stages they're going to use, what tasks they're going to use, SOPs should be used, what features, all those things. That way there's a million things that you can do in Zoho. It's going to make your head spin. I don't want it to make your head spin. I just want what's relevant to your processes and objectives and customer journey to be built in the system, and everything else can be figured out later. You just need one road to revenue initially, and then you can start building out other things as well, okay? So now that we're here with qualification, pipeline ready, needs analysis, proposal, the thing I think would be important to mention to you is in the deal, this is also where you would potentially create a quote if you wanted to configure and price quote your client, right? So, or client, customer, prospective customer. So there's lots of different products. You can add items here in the CRM, and you can do that as well. We've added custom functionality so that within a quote, we'll just do a demo here. We'll do a demo Zoho One implementation here. If I save this and then go over to the quote, you're going to notice that for this demo, there's a custom button, convert to sales order and book. So the best passing point for physical items that you are going to charge someone if you need to quote them, because quoting is saying, hey, this is what the price is going to be for something, right? You can also use estimates, which is saying this is what we think it's going to be, but quoting should be then turned into, for best practices, sales order. Then the sales order has two commitments: sending them the thing they bought or delivering the thing that they got, and then the financial commitment. So sales order should then become a invoice, and it should become a package, and then shipment. Okay. So invoice is and the reason it has to be different records, potentially there could be multiple invoices against the same sales order, right? So you could have payment terms. It's like half up front, half when you get it, something like that. So it allows you to sales order, then invoice for the payment, and then sales order, package, shipment, to track the fulfillment of actually doing the thing you said that you were giving them, the thing that you said you were going to give them. Okay, so that's the passing point. We're not going to get too much into books because this is a Zoho CRM tutorial. I just wanted to make mention of that because I feel like it's really important to show you how does Zoho CRM fit with everything else, because Zoho CRM doesn't exist in a vacuum. It exists in your tech stack being all the technology you use to run your operations. So it's really important to understand. Cool. So one last thing here that can be confusing. Zoho CRM does have modules that other Zoho apps have. For example, you can see here, convert to sales order invoice. Oh yeah, Drew, you just said that. Well, these are Zoho CRM specific records. We don't want to use the thing that Zoho CRM has as a limitation. When you send an invoice through Zoho CRM, they can't pay through it. It's just a static document. Zoho Books, however, can collect payment. So you have to use Zoho Books for sending out invoices if you want to collect payment from that invoice. So you got to keep that in mind as well. All right, so that is the demo deal, and a little bit about how you can send a quote, convert it, and things like that. You would do that from the deal. Closed one can mean a couple of things, but typically it's when they sign a document, right? So if you send a proposal over for them to sign, I use Zoho Sign in order to send over proposals. It auto-generates the document, auto-generates the signed fields. I'll just show you a quick example of that just so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. When I go into mail merge, I have these different documents that I can create. I'm going to show you an NDA here just really quickly. And it will merge information. It can merge information using these merge fields. So if I go over to run merge, you can see that it identifies these merge fields and says, hey, that matches a field in that record. And then it creates the document here. Okay, so here is the document. And then it has these sign fields here. And then when I upload it to Zoho Sign, if I go over to distribute and then go over to upload to sign services sign, it will actually create a sign field. What does that mean? Well, instead of me dragging and dropping a sign field so I can send it to someone and they can sign it, it automatically does it. And so I'll just show it to you really quickly here. It can happen right here. The signature fields, I need to move forward just one more step. Do demo at gmail.com. Continue. Switch these real quickly. Drew, continue. And then you can see there's the sign fields right here. Okay, so they appear. So when I send it to somebody, the sign fields will appear. Okay, we're almost done through one road to revenue, right? So someone asked for a proposal. Let's just say I sent that out for a proposal now that you know how it works. And they respond back and they say, great, change a couple things. I change it, send them another mail merge doc, and then we close one, okay? So they've signed the proposal. They haven't paid me yet. They've just signed the proposal. Well, I consider that closed one. We're in a contractual agreement now to do something for them. We won the contract, however you want to say it, it's won, okay? If you're more transactional in your sales process, people say, hey, can you give me a quote? You quote them, and then they say, good, that sounds good. You can mark that closed one too if you have that kind of relationship with a client or customer of yours. But most of the time there's an agreement in place that's closed one. Doesn't necessarily mean you pay, especially when you have payment terms like net 30. It's like you're not collecting the payment yet. So closed one just identifies that there's been an agreement in place. All right. So with that, that is how one road to revenue, right? So what we said is for my process, someone goes on a YouTube video, like you're watching on YouTube, clicked on a link, booked a free consultation, met with me, said, send the proposal. I sent the proposal. They signed the proposal. That's closed one. Now, everything post-sales, which Zoho CRM is not a post-sales tool. You can use it for some post-sales operations. For example, if you use Zoho Desk to do customer support, your contacts database in Zoho CRM should be synced with Zoho Desk. It's another reason you'd want to use leads and contacts so that your leads aren't entering your support database and things like that. Also, do you want everyone who fills out a form entering your finance database? Because don't you want to connect your contacts with Zoho Books too, so you can set out invoices and things like that? So those are things for you to think about. I also use Zoho Projects. So once it's closed one, I can go over to Zoho Projects, and then I can create a new project. And then I can go through onboarding. I could do my onboardings inside of Zoho CRM. It's just not what it's designed to do. So you can use the system against its design, but then you pay the price. Do you want to pay the price? Probably not. So lots of different apps here in Zoho that I'm using outside of Zoho CRM. The reason I have to mention it is because if I don't, you're going to think Zoho CRM can do everything under the sun. And it can't. It can do a lot, but it can't do everything. That's why I like Zoho One, because Zoho One offers 46 different Zoho apps in one bundle. So that because I believe in task technology fit theory, which is like, it's a Venn diagram. Your operations is a Venn diagram. Operations being the things you do day to day to get things done. And it's two circles. And we want as much overlap between the tasks you perform and the technology you're using. So the best way that can be accomplished is writing in detail in almost like a story road to revenue format, just writing out bullet points of exactly what needs to be done in the process. You can either do your existing I recommend you just do your existing process, but if you don't have a process, write out a process, like step by step, try to be as detailed as you can. And then from there, you match up each bullet point in the process, do it in who will what format. So Drew will send proposal, Drew will respond back. Don't do every situation, by the way, just do one road to revenue in a document. And then match each of those things with their best feature, application, extension, whatever it is inside of Zoho CRM. That way there's good overlap, if not perfect overlap, between the tasks you perform in the organization and your technology. So that's what I'm trying to get across here. Zoho CRM can do a lot, but it can't do everything. I like being able to have every Zoho app in my arsenal when I'm building a system for someone based on their process, which is like why I like Zoho One, but Zoho CRM is good too. Next thing here that's important to understand is I can go over and create a project and go over to project creation right here. Just click on the button. This is a window into the Zoho Projects application, which is very, very useful. And I can just select on a template that I want to use, and then I'm off to the races. I can add them to it and say, hey, this is the onboarding checklist. I'm giving you access to my Zoho Projects board so you can see everything that we're doing for you, all the timesheets, things like that. Also, we have Zoho Work Drive. So I can attach any folder there, share the folder with my client and say, hey, all these are all the relevant documents to your account. And there's many other Zoho applications here. The last thing I'm going to show you is N8N. I just got to show you this. Zoho will have native AI agents eventually, but until they do, you've got to see N8N. So here's N8N, and N8N allows you to use AI agents. So for example, I use an AI agent for sales. So every time there's a sales meeting during the day, my AI agent here, you'll just see it right here, will look through my calendar and send an email just saying, hey, are you going to be joining the meeting? Also, it logs the email inside of Zoho CRM because I have the email IMAP set up. So if you don't know email IMAP, basically inside of Zoho CRM, you say integrate with my Gmail. And if there's a record inside of Zoho CRM with an email, it'll find the relevant emails from your server and will populate the email section, which is really helpful. So you can see all communication against a record. So that's really helpful. I have this sales agent here. And then we have the marketing agent, which can look at content that I've created, like a YouTube video, and then it can create a LinkedIn post. So it can repurpose the content. This is really cool. AI agents are super powerful. I don't want to derail the whole video, but I just want to show you like these things work really well. And then it creates a Zoho marketing automation email campaign and sends it out to my list based on the video that I created. And it also creates an article in Webflow on my website because my website is hosted by Webflow. So it does all of that, makes one content into 3 pieces of content, and it creates those UTM parameters. So if someone goes from my LinkedIn post to my website, I can track that LinkedIn gets the credit for the sale. By the way, all of that tracking, you get into the argument of attribution, which is it the first touch, last touch? Do we use a W model or U model, or do we give it half to the first touch, half to the last touch? So multi-touch attribution, if you're a beginner to this stuff, don't do it. Just do first touch. Like, what's the first touch we can track? Was it LinkedIn? Great. We're going to give LinkedIn the credit. Is it perfect? No, but it's better than nothing. So let's just start with it. That's what I recommend for you initially. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go back to my project here. One other one I'm just going to show you that's really, really cool is I have my my sales agent that can look at the top opportunities in my Zoho CRM database because I've integrated Zoho CRM with what's called Supabase. And it just sends emails to them and finds a relevant video from all the videos I've created and sends it to them. So it just does it for my top leads. It doesn't do it for every single lead in my database. I could build it out to do that. I just don't want to. So every single Monday and Wednesday, just takes my top leads and sends them an email, says, hopefully you find this helpful. We scanned your website. We know what you do. We thought this video would be helpful because of ABC. And it's all done automatically by an AI agent. So my prospecting is done by an AI agent, which is really helpful. I could take this, by the way, the AI agents are just endless rabbit hole, but just to give you an idea. Another thing that's coming down the pipeline for people is basically during your meetings, your meeting transcript being fed through an AI agent to do actions that you said, like sending a proposal, updating the stage, updating information on the record. That can be done using AI agents within N8N as well. I'm sure there's going to be a functionality like that eventually for Zoho CRM, but right now, you would need to use N8N, but that stuff's really interesting and it's coming down the pipeline and I'm really excited for it. Okay. Next thing I just want to show you here is the Agent Prime. And Agent Prime can do a lot of things. I can ask any question through Zoho Click. I have a N8N Zoho video if you want to check this out in more detail. I'll just give you the quick synopsis or the quick overview of this thing. Or Telegram is on my phone. I can ask a voice prompt, send emails for me, log it in the CRM. It can create different records in the CRM for me, like contacts. It can create calendar events for me, which syncs with my CRM because Google Calendar and Zoho CRM are synced up. It can create tasks inside of Zoho Projects for me directly, which is really useful. There's so much that my AI agent can do, which is extremely useful. So I use AI agents heavily for my workflow. Just think about it this way. An AI agent is like a really robust workflow, or like this one, this marketing agent is just a really, really robust workflow. I could have used Zoho Flow for this, but there's some things that Zoho Flow would have struggled with. But really the unique value here for an AI agent, it's like interacting with ChatGPT. If ChatGPT could see all the information in your Zoho system, and it could trigger actions in your Zoho system through natural language. So if you were to tell ChatGPT, send an email to so-and-so, it'd create the email, but it can't send the email for you. An AI agent can do that. If you were to say to ChatGPT, hey, send a proposal for so-and-so, it doesn't have access to your system to do anything like that. But an AI agent could do something like that. You could say, send a proposal to so-and-so, and it would find the contact in your database and then trigger the automation to create the mail merge and then send it out to them, which is really powerful. So with that, that is how you should be using Zoho CRM. I know this is a lot of information. It can make your head spin, but it is important. These systems are nuanced. When you build them right, it helps you scale. But that's the thing about scaling. If you want to scale, then you have to spend more time in the setup. If you don't care about scaling, then you don't have to worry about it. It's not worth the setup. You could probably get away with using spreadsheets. But this problem of setting up things so that you can set yourself up for success with scaling is you don't want to flood a leaky bucket. So a lot of people come to me and they'll say, well, what's the right time to do this? I'm like, anytime you're planning on growing or scaling, you're going to want to do this, because this problem of building a system that inside of Zoho that supports your processes, it gets worse with time, not better. So it's better to bite the bullet. Don't be sloppy with building these systems. Get it set up right so you're set up for success and you're not flooding a leaky bucket. When I say leaky bucket, I'm just saying a bad system that can't handle the amount of records or process that you're putting through it. So with that, that's how you should use Zoho CRM. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.